winning the hearts of the international community. And I can assure you that the private sector players in the room today, that has been their major concern. But we've all seen in the news that that concern has been put to rest. And Kaduna State is ready and set for business, especially in the renewable energy sector. You agree with me, Your Excellency, that the last mile communities is our target at the REA. And the security concerns that will naturally be a problem has now been eliminated successfully. And we must commend you for that, sir. The theme for today is very deliberate, Your Excellency, from policy to impact. Because just like REA, the Kaduna State government do less talk and more action. And it's been like that since your administration kick-started. The new Kaduna State electricity sector and electricity market will be leaning heavily on the R&D, innovation, and of course, business models of private sector players in the room today. And we have a long line of renewable energy service companies here in the room today, Your Excellency. Some of these service companies have existing and ongoing projects in the state, and they will be sharing that with you as well. You'll agree with me, and the entire room would agree with us, that the state government has done a lot of work, and Kaduna State is beyond the business hub, is now ready for innovation, research and development, as well as the development of productive use equipment in the clean energy space. And that's why we are here today, to kickstart a conversation that will create impactful partnerships for the state government. And Your Excellencies, I would also be presenting energy access data to show you where we are in terms of the population of unserved and underserved citizens in Kaduna State, and the specific technologies that can be targeted to these citizens. And in no time, and as you're going to hear, sir, from the tone setting by the MD CEO, in no time we'll be able to power millions of residents of your state, sir. Without further ado, considering that we've lost a little bit of time, Your Excellency, and knowing that you're a very busy governor, the plan today is to do a hard stop at 5 p.m. or before 5 p.m. hopefully. So I urge all presenters, including the rescuers who will be taking their 1 minute, to be very, very conscious of time. We usually have rescuers who are fresh off the field. I'm aware that you're returning back to the field immediately after this session. Thanks so much for joining us. So let's keep to time and be fair to everyone. For the welcome address, I'll be inviting Dr. Ibrahim Hamza, the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Public Works and Infrastructure.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, Senator Dr. Obasani, the Managing Director of the Rural Electrification Agency, REA, and your distinguished delegation, Secretary to the State Government of Kaduna State, members of the Executive Council of Kaduna State, the heads and agencies, and crucially, all managing directors, CEOs, and representatives from our esteemed renewable energy service companies, RESCOs. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all. It is a distinct honor to welcome you all to this critical Kaduna State by State Renewable Energy Roundtable. On behalf of the Kaduna State Government, we extend our sincere gratitude to the Rural Electrification Agency for this timely and essential collaboration. Welcome to Kaduna State, the home of vast opportunity, the most recently declared safest state in the northern part of Kaduna State of Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, today's gathering is not just a talk shop. It is a strategic intervention focused on a single urgent mission: accelerating energy access for the unserved and underserved communities in Kaduna State. We have moved past rhetorics. We are here for tangible, deployable solutions. To our partners from REA, thank you for bringing this mechanism to the subnational level. To our RESCO representatives, you are the engine room of this transition. We believe the technical and financial opportunities to be shared today will illuminate pathways for your immediate investment in our state. We urge you to engage deeply as the hard questions and leave this room with concrete plans for partnership. We look forward to aligning our collective developmental priorities and fostering the strategic alliances that will define the future of energy access in Kaduna State. I thank you all for your presence and commitment to this vital cause. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please join me in welcoming His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, Senator Dr. Obasani, CON. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hamza. And speaking of partnerships and making impact, we'd like to specially recognize the foot soldiers of the REA who have been putting all the strategies together and ensuring that the agency continues to make impact across last mile communities. We have the Executive Director, Rural Electrification Fund, here in the room, Engineer Doris Ubo, here in the room today. We have the Executive Director, Technical Services, Engineer Umar, FNSC. The Executive Director, Corporate Services, Ayoade Boyega. And of course, the head, Nigerian Electrification Program at the REA, Olufemi Akinyelure. Your Excellency, we equally have directors and, we have Engineer Doris in the room now. I think she stepped out for a while. We equally have directors and executive directors from the agency who continue to spin the wheel of this very important institution. Quickly, if you permit me, Your Excellency, sir, I'll be calling on Dr. Abba Aliyu, the MD CEO of REA, to give us his tone setting for the day.
Your Excellency, my brother, the room is so full, and this shows the appetite of the private sector to your state, Your Excellency. The first lesson I learned now, Your Excellency, is next time we are going to have an event with Kaduna State, we will take the Congress Hall, not a small room. Your Excellency, before I start, I want to state two things. One, Your Excellency, is your retention ability. We had a discussion with you, Your Excellency, last week, and in my heart of heart, how busy you are, that discussion may not come up again. And as we sat here, Your Excellency, you brought it up. I have even forgotten about it. Your Excellency, thank you for this. Secondly, Your Excellency, attached to that is the level of efficiency in terms of you trying to see things being executed. So not too much rhetoric, but get to the end of it and get things done. And that is exactly what we want to do here. We have done so many discussions. In the words of my brother, he said we have done megawatts of thoughts. Now what remains is megawatt of electricity. And that is exactly what we want to do here, to deploy electricity in Kaduna State. So Your Excellency, as a starter, what I just want to inform you is Rural Electrification Agency is partnering with the states to, one, deepen the implementation of Electricity Act of 2023, and at the same time, bring the subnational and the private sector, as well as the REA, to deploy infrastructure. It is a common statement that I always make, Your Excellency, that Rural Electrification Agency is the only government agency that will stand and tell you that we have money. We don't have a problem of money. What we have is to create a partnership. What we want is creating a partnership to spend that money. And that is why we bring in the private sector, Your Excellency, for you to tell them why they should come to Kaduna, why they shouldn't go to the MD state. And Your Excellency, my target, being my friend, I would like, before the end of this session, minimum target of at least, let us crystallize, minimum of 200 projects, big projects in Kaduna State. So, Your Excellency, the picture here is a project that we deployed in Kaduna State. This is a project that we did in Defense Academy, which was commissioned, and your commissioner represented you at that event. So this is just showcasing some of the things that we have been doing and what we want to continue to multiply in the state. Next slide. So, Your Excellency, why we started all this state-by-state engagement is because of what Mr. President has done. That is the enactment of the Electricity Act of 2023. The act changed the entire dynamics of the power sector by now opening and liberalizing the sector, giving the subnational unfiltered opportunity to participate in the entire value chain of the electricity. At the same time, also deepen the participation of the private sector. So that is why we now said that from when it comes to electricity access, let us now chart a roadmap and guide the private sector as well as the subnational towards deployment of the infrastructure to address the act. Next slide. So, Your Excellency, from the context, what I told you in terms of the funding, this is the funding portfolio that the Rural Electrification Agency have. Currently, we have 1.1 billion US dollars that we are implementing. In fact, to show you the quantum of it, which I normally said, is one project alone, Your Excellency, has 750 million US dollars. And this is credit to Mr. President. This is the biggest publicly funded renewable energy in the entire world. And our target is to deploy 1,350 mini grids across the country and electrify 17.5 million. And Your Excellency, I know how convincing you are. I won't mind if the entire money goes to Kaduna State because of, the discussion that we have been having with you. But apart from what we have, Your Excellency, we also have a funding pipeline of 1.7 billion. And this is also funding that we are continuously working to crystallize to make sure that we have what it takes to address the electricity access challenge. And we are implementing different projects. Some of them is just partnership between the state and the private sector. Some of them partnership between the REA and the state, which we call them the state matching fund. And some of them are even grants that we go and deploy without any partnership. So these are all the projects that we are currently implementing, 12 of them. Next slide. And in terms of sustainability, Your Excellency, in this presentation, we would highlight to you what we put in place to ensure that all the projects that we deploy are sustainable. So it's not just that when the battery comes to the end of its life cycle, the infrastructure will cease to operate. No, we have a framework that continuously ensures the sustainability. And Your Excellency, the also key thing is what we are also crystallizing, that is the renewable energy service company. We have here a portfolio of private companies that have developed technical ability of deploying infrastructure projects and also have acquired experience in crystallizing debt and equity financing to the tune of over 3 billion based on the previous project that we have. So these are the people that we are nurturing, and these are the people that we want them to all relocate their headquarters from wherever they are to Kaduna State. Next slide. Yes, we should clap to that because we should. So, and Your Excellency, another thing also that we want to highlight, which the state can crystallize, and in the presentation we will highlight, is the huge opportunity of creating job opportunities in the renewable space. So as we are spending 1.1 billion, that money would definitely crystallize more job opportunities. But if the subnationals are not strategically positioned to harness that, that opportunity will come and will go. We have seen a situation whereby we deploy an infrastructure in Jigawa, and when that is faulty, when there is any fault with that infrastructure, someone has to be flew from Lagos to Jigawa to fix that. That must be reversed. Each state must develop the technical ability and competency to manage that infrastructure we are deploying within the state. And that is why we design some program that we want the state to key into for that job opportunity creation. Next slide. Now, Your Excellency, this is getting into the detail of why we are here. Your Excellency, this map that you are seeing is a consultancy of over $1 million. And behind the map is layer and layer and layer of data that tells us how best to address the electricity challenge. So, Your Excellency, if you look at the map, you will see different colors within the map. Wherever you see green, Your Excellency, these are communities that are within the country and that are best be served by deploying solar home systems. And where you see red, these are communities that should be electrified using mini grids. And you can see Kaduna, we have more of the reds than the green within Kaduna State. And where you see yellow, these are communities that are best served by extending the grid. So when it comes to electrification, it's not always just buying transformers and keep the extending line. No, the most economically best way of addressing that electricity challenge is based on the data available within that community. And we have done this. And Your Excellency, in general, as a country as a whole, we realize that we need $23 billion to address the electricity access gap countrywide. And this money is broken state by state. So we know what amount is required to electrify Kaduna. We know what amount to electrify each local government, even the communities. And Your Excellency, as the time goes on, we will show you these layers of data. Next slide. Next slide. Beyond also the mapping, this, Your Excellency, this shows you the distribution line within the entire country. and you can see Kaduna, and we are very happy to say that substantial part of the state have the grid connection. So we are really okay with the level of distribution network within the state. Next slide. Next slide. Your Excellency, this is like zooming. That map that you have seen, as you zoom it, the dots start spreading. So this, if you see the Kaduna, you will see the green have changed. So these are the real communities that should be served with the solar home system, and the ones with the mini grid as well. Next slide. As we go in, you will see. And this is also further expanding, stretching the map. You now see the where the orange are, these are where the grid extensions are, and the green where the mini grid should be deployed. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So, Your Excellency, in trying to summarize this based on the analysis of Kaduna, what we find out is by deploying solar home system and mini grid, Your Excellency, 1.7 million people within the state can be electrified using mini grid and solar home system. 1.7 million. And Your Excellency, one good part of it is we can electrify these people without one kobo of the state. If we incentivize this private sector, we have the funding. The private sector, what we cannot dictate is to tell the private sector where they should go. They decide on their own based on enabling environment to go where they should go. So this is an opportunity for us to tell them, let them live wherever they are. The MC said that some of them, they were even in the field, but because they want Kaduna, they came back here. So let's make sure that from here, rather than going back to the Kano state of the ED state, let them go to Kaduna, finish in Kaduna before going to Kano. And Your Excellency, I'm saying this without any fear because I'm now somebody from Kaduna. I'm a Kaduna indigenous. Your Excellency, we also have identified 4,593 off-grid communities, and we will show you where these communities are. And we can achieve close to 450 connections using this mini grid. We also have identified 1,959 off-grid educational institutions that we can power. And we have a program for that. When the ED rep comes, she will talk about it. We have also identified 305 off-grid health facilities. And I must pause at this moment, Your Excellency, to appreciate the work that you have done empowering health centers. Kaduna is a model in this regard, and I want to put this on record. To the extent, Your Excellency, one of our development finance institution program, what we were told is to copy the Kaduna model. This to me is a huge achievement, and credit goes to you. Next slide. So Your Excellency, now drifting from the global state, now we started breaking it down into local government by local government within the state. So you can see all this local government, Your Excellency. This shows the local governments that are well electrified and those that are not well electrified. From the data, Igabi local government is the state with the highest number of people that are not electrified, followed by Kubau, then Soba, then Lere, then Kauru, Chikun, Birningwari, Zaingon Katab, Giwa, Ikara. But the most electrified place is Sabongari. These are areas that we have identified, these communities that are without the data, and these are areas that we would now channel. And this is the data that the private sector wants, because the private sector also, one of the things that motivates them to go to a state is the existence of the communities that are without the access. Next slide. So now drifting, even from the local government, we have now started going down to the communities to show you the communities. This is a Dus and Abba community in Zaria. You can see the community. Wherever you see purple color, these are small houses. While you see the blue color, these are large buildings. And we identified so many data metrics, Your Excellency. We identified the total number of houses within the community. We identify the nature of the occupation of the people within the community. We also have data to say if there's any security incident within the community, we know. We also have the what type of security nature. So these are things that we present and the private sector leverage on. Someone can easily take this to say that, oh, I want this community, and write to us, and we give him the grant, and he will go and power it. Your Excellency, this data, we can continue to zoom it down. We can show you the house of the commissioner if we want, but for now, we will keep quiet. Next slide. This is another community, Your Excellency, in Cubao that is very rich with so many buildings that the private sector can easily would take this with all the parameters that are there, the nature of the mini-grid that can be served. Next slide. This is also in Zango and Katap, narrowing it down. Next slide. We have all the 4,500 communities. We have their data, and this is something that we will hand over to the state at the right time. Next slide. This is also in Igabi, local government. Next slide. Your Excellency, apart from identifying all the state and their nuances, we determined that if we are now to electrify all these 1.7 million people, electrify all these 4,500 communities, what are the economic changes that they can catalyze within the state? Your Excellency, this can incentivize an investment of 1.6 billion US dollars into the state, be it debt, equity, or grant, to address this challenge. And at the same time, it can boost the GDP by 36 billion and create over 380,000 job opportunities within the state. And this is what, Your Excellency, we want to partner with to make sure that we address this access challenge and key into the sustained agenda of Your Excellency to make sure that we catalyze economic activities within the state. Our prayer, Your Excellency, is to make sure that we incentivize this private sector for them to offtake all these communities, come and take the grants from REA, and make Kaduna a construction center of renewable infrastructure in Nigeria. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Dr. Abba Aliu, MD, REA. Your Excellency, sir, we must equally commend you for the ongoing energy projects in the state, especially the transmission substation, the green economic zone, as well as the one in Marabanjos, the 84 megawatts. We're sure that after this roundtable, we will now have a new line of clean energy projects across the state. We believe there's a little review on the agenda. Can that be communicated? All right. So the agenda remains as is, but timed at 5 minutes. Good? All right. So, Your Excellency, sir, I will quickly be inviting Engineer Doris Ubo, the Executive Director, Rural Education Fund, for her presentation.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, my MD, Capacity MD of REA, permit me to stand on already established protocol. Before I start, I would like to use 10 seconds, Your Excellency, to seek for protection from you, from my fellow EDs. They always say my presentation is too long, but I have to market this project so that Excellency can appreciate and bring it to the local communities. Thank you, Your Excellency. My time is now 20 minutes. I'm only joking. Your Excellency, following in the tone setting that has been brilliantly presented by the MD, I'll give a short version of my project. So I'll skip a lot, but I'll try to stick with the real stories that you're here to hear. Because I have spoken to your team a lot, I've spoken to your essays. I remember the first time you heard about the EHAD project, you requested that we should send a copy to you, which I did. So that's the project that I'm here to present, Your Excellency. You have heard from the MD that we have different types of projects. There's projects, energizing education, different types, but EHAD is mostly geared towards rural communities, because the whole agenda of EHAD is to stick with the agenda of the renewable agenda of Mr. President, bringing the rural communities up and to unlock the capacities of the informal economy that they represent. That is the sole purpose of designing the EHAD project. By the way, for those who are wondering, EHAD means energizing health, education, agric, rural communities, and transportation via e-mobility. But before I get into the meat, I'll tell you why we got to where we are. Next slide, please. Like I said, I'll skip a lot, so next slide. Yeah, we did a lot of pilot projects that gave us the need and the information we needed to be able to scale to where we are. So here, Your Excellency, are some of the projects we have done in the past, 124 mini-grids and all the capacities and the job creation that we were able to achieve. Next slide. So these are pictures of some of the projects. Like the MD said, from the data we have, we are able to do energy audit and fit in an appropriate capacity of mini-grid towards a particular company. So you'll see different sizes of mini-grid. It's a 40 kilowatts Rafin Zufi. Next slide. This is 100 kilowatts because it's a larger community. Next slide. Same thing here in Bende local government in Abia. This is a mini-grid, by the way, because it's not every community that is unserved. Some are actually underserved. And with a community like this that has presence of distribution network and presence of disco, the best way to serve them is to do an interconnected mini-grid. And this project was sponsored by the German government. The 19 mini-grids of this nature. This is 395 kilowatts. Next slide. Same thing here. This project has even grown to 1.5 megawatts today. Next slide. Next slide. Projects that we have from REF in Kaduna that is ongoing right now. We have 100 kilowatts in Kasunwan Magani community in Kaduru local government. And for the last mile communities, one of the communities called the Boto community in Gida local government, we have a developer that is currently supplying SHS solar home system for them. So projects that we have that has been completed, also in REF, we have also in Kasunwa community. Next slide. Next one. Okay, so with all that you have seen, Your Excellency, it's what we call pilot projects. Those pilot projects gave us the data and the research that we did, gave us the information we needed to scale when the call from federal government came that we should scale and prioritize the rural communities. So we designed this project called the EHAD project. And the reason we picked these sectors, the health, education, agric, the rural communities and transportation is because these are the key sectors that really affect the rural community. Healthcare delivery, we all know, is a challenge there. Education, most of the schools are without digital learning tools. We can't even match up to even some West African countries. And agric, most of the communities are agrarian communities. The only way to boost production is to aid them by bringing them, prioritizing and bringing them on board. Rural communities itself, the only way to begin to close the energy gap is to also make sure they have access to energy in their communities for their SMEs and even in their houses. And transportation is not left out because when you achieve all of this, how do they convey their goods to the nearest market hub? We all know what supply and demand and the prices of diesel or fuel is saying in the country today. So if you do e-transportation, they will be mitigating the problem. So we designed the project to be able to energize 100 communities per state, Your Excellency. That will give us a total of 3,700 across the country, touching every geopolitical zone. And when you do primary health care, we will be giving them medical equipment, especially vaccine, refrigeration, and solar boreholes and street lights in the PHCs. You have done a lot of renovation, but I believe you have some that also needs a touch of this sort of project, Your Excellency. Education-wise, like I said, there's going to be digital learning tools and e-learning, both for the students and for upgrading the knowledge of the teachers. Agric, we will be supplying them with solar power, cold storage, for able to preserve their goods post-harvest, but also give them solar-powered water pumps to boost irrigation in their farms. In the communities, like I said, they will have access to powering their households and powering their small businesses. Transportation-wise, solar-powered electric tricycles and vehicles and EV charging stations, and even solar battery charging stations. So the opportunity for Kaduna State, you have an opportunity to electrify 25 communities. That is the first phase, because 3,700 to take it up at once is huge. So we divided the project into 3 different phases. The first phase, we see each state given opportunity to electrify 25 communities, and they will have access to 2.5 megawatts, Your Excellency. This will give you improvement in security, job creation, increase in your IGR, Your Excellency, and also give the local economy opportunity to unlock their potentials, catalyzing rural economy and the entire ecosystem. Next slide. So the business model we have, Your Excellency, is the PPP model. We're able to de-risk these communities enough to be interesting to the investors you see here today. State readiness of each state also dictates how fast we are able to deploy these projects. And like we have seen, Kaduna is a model state, and we are very, very sure that you will take advantage of this. What do we bring on board, you will ask? Your Excellency, we will lead the project, coordination, planning, and execution, develop the legal frameworks. As you know, Your Excellency, electricity market has been liberalized. So each state now has the opportunity to set up their own electricity market. But also they'll be partnering with national. So we being in the middle is to be able to form that synergy that is highly needed so that everybody can have a success story. So we'll create a one-stop shop for coordination, all permits and approvals, and also sustainability plan is one thing REA does better than anybody, better than any agency. And that is why you see when the president even talks about renewable, most of the time he's talking about rural electrification agency, because our sustainability plan, we don't just build a mini grid and leave. The RESCOs are tied to any mini grid that they deploy to any state. They're there by our own operation guidelines. They're there for the next 20 years, making sure they're the first responders and making sure it's working. My colleague will come up here to talk in depth about the sustainability plan. State governments, yours participation is to give us the land or the site with all infrastructures. If there's any renovation or retrofitting to be done in any school or primary health care center in a benefiting community, you guys will do that for us. Give us the logistics, community engagement, and of course, security. All of this put together, we give the RESCOs the frame of mind to come in to participate through competitive procurement, deploying energy solutions, partnering with local businesses for logistics, develop efficient supply chain to ensure timely delivery of each equipment, and of course, PUE's productive use of energy equipment also will be introduced. Next slide. This is the financial model that we are following. It's a blended financing, and as you can see, Your Excellency, REA is so generous with its grants because it is part of our plan to de-risk every community, especially the rural ones, and make it interesting and make it viable, economically viable, commercially viable for investors to bring in their funds. That is why we give 60% grant, while the states will contribute 30%, and the investors themselves will come in with 10% because they will be there for long term to manage the project. Next slide. So what do we plan to achieve? This is what we plan to achieve, Your Excellency. This is our target. Like I said, 3,700 communities. Total generation for this project is 370 megawatts of clean energy, Your Excellency. Community to be impacted is 3,007. Direct impact on Nigerians is over 7.4 million Nigerians. And indirect, meaning through job creation, new SMEs coming on board, is over 43 million Nigerians. And carbon reduction is over 1.5 million. Your Excellency, the carbon credit from this alone is over $30 to $40 million. So you can understand the kind of project we're talking about. Next slide. So what does each community that benefits get? Under health, like I said, they will get better healthcare delivery. They will have a vaccine cooling refrigeration to extend the shelf life of their vaccine. Education is there. Agric is not left out. Rural communities, electrification for every household and SMEs. Transportation, e-mobility, no more worries about whether you have fuel or fuel prices are going up or coming down. So this is what we put in the phase 1 of 25 communities of each state. Next slide. So like the MD was saying, we have done a lot of research. Anything we stand up here to tell you is backed up by data, backed up by crucial research that has been done and concluded. For example, in community called Kanye community, somebody should tell Kanye West that he's actually from Kaduna State. So you can see the sort of data that we have in Kacha local government, estimated number of connections, over 1,004 population. We go to the granular, Your Excellency. We even tell you the dominant crops in each community. We tell you the total agricultural area that is available. Should they even have access to purchasing better farming equipment to be able to unlock what they are sitting on? They don't need to jackpot. They don't even need to leave Kaduna to Abuja. While sitting in their community, this is what they have access to. Imagine Kanye community is sitting on over $2 million revenue per year. You can imagine what the contribution of this is to the IGR of your state, Your Excellency. Next community. We decided to keep it short. I think this is the last one. Kumin Kogi community from Ikara local government. You can see the number of connections. You can see the population. Over 4,000 people will have access to electricity 24/7, Your Excellency. Our electricity does not blink and our grid does not fall. It is built to last because the RESCOs are there to respond to whatever that comes up. And also, this is the economic potentials of Kogi community sitting on possibility of generating over $5 million per year. Your Excellency, if you consider to make me one of your citizens, I would love to come from either Kogi or Kanye community so I can benefit from such projects. So, Your Excellency, that is what we have. And let me share a little thing. From this project, the EHAD project, Kaduna State has been, like I said, a model state. The Kaduna State has formed your state steering committee. They have sent the list to us. You have done your site selections of states, communities that you want to benefit. We also have that. We even have a commitment letter, Your Excellency, from you. So that really, if we say you are a model state, we're not just saying it. We actually mean it because you are behaving and performing very well the way every state should. So as you can see, I really don't want to leave this stage, but I have to. Your Excellency, I pray that you key into REV so that I can beat my chest and say I am a citizen of Kaduna State. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Doris Ubo, for that very enlightening presentation. And quickly, I will be calling on Engineer Umar, the Executive Director, Technical Services, for his 5 minutes as well. Just as Engineer Doris used 5 minutes, he used 5 minutes too, sir.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, members of the Kaduna State Executive Council here present, my elder brother MDRA, my colleagues, EDs, ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to stand on the existing protocol. Your Excellency, before I go through my short presentation, it's just about 5 or 6 slides, so I'll be on time in 5 minutes. Your Excellency, I'll just begin with a quick disclaimer. In the MD's remarks, he said doing mini grids in Kaduna, there is now an indigene. Mine is in Kano, but Your Excellency, he doesn't know that you've already made me an indigene of Kaduna almost about 2 years ago. So I'm in Kaduna already, I've been enjoying Kaduna. So in fact, Your Excellency, what I want you to do, you should not even permit new entries, please. We don't want our enjoyment to reduce. So please, we don't want any REA management joining Kaduna State. Yeah. We'll begin with the first slide. Your Excellency, I head the Technical Services Directorate. Your Excellency, you yourself being a Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you're already familiar with the projects done under the capital by the Rural Electrification Agency. We've deployed a lot of projects. Since we came in as a management, our first task was completing the 2023 budget, then moving to 2024 and 2025. And the good news is for the 2023, we implemented it to almost about 100%. For the 2024, we've done almost about 80%, and we've gone far as well in deploying the capital budget for the 2025. The type of projects we do, grid extension projects, we've done some mini grids, productive use of equipment, and solar home systems. Okay. And Your Excellency, under the 2025, we have 2 new special programs that we're implementing. Part of them is the National Public Sector Solarization Intervention, under which we are solarizing about 26 public institutions, including the National Hospital, including institutions like the DSS, EFCC, ICPC, some colleges of education, and some federal medical centers. And Your Excellency, to just see how audacious we are when we are doing our projects, imagine we do a mini grid at the DSS and there happens to be any problem. I'm sure they will just send an invitation for the MD. Probably will not see him again for the next couple of days. And especially the fact that the MD is not an engineer. So I don't know how he'll get himself out of that. Maybe it's easier if they should detain me, at least the MD will bail me. But if they detain the MD, maybe we'll have to go to His Excellency so that he'll bail our MD. So, Your Excellency, we are going to deploy a total amount of 40 megawatts to solarize these 26 institutions. And also we have the Renewed Hope Intervention Fund, under which we are going to solarize 8 legacy universities. And these universities include University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Obafemi Awolowo University, University of Lagos, University of Ibadan, Ahmadu Bello University, University of Taraba, Federal University, Dutse, and Federal University, Benin. About 8 of them, Your Excellency. And the scope of this project is construction of solar power plant, rehabilitation of the distribution network, we'll do street lighting, metering, and SCADA. And in the course of our preparation for this project, Your Excellency, we went and did energy audit on all these institutions. And what we found in a lot of times, Your Excellency, was very interesting. There are times whereby, let's take National Hospital, for instance, they spend about 120 million naira monthly just as their electricity bill, which they found to be too high for them. They couldn't afford to keep paying that way. And this is minus about 50,000 liters of diesel that they consume every month. And in fact, when we're doing some other audits in some agencies around the country, we would usually ask, there's a key question we usually ask: what are the number of outages you have in these agencies? And we even get answers as bad as unlimited. They don't even know the number of outages they have in a day. So, Your Excellency, this project is a very important project. And even looking at the universities under Renewed Hope, these are legacy universities, of which Ahmadu Bello University in Kaduna happens to be one of them as well. So I wouldn't take much time. Next slide. Your Excellency, apart from that, we've done other type of projects. These are just images of projects we've implemented over the years. Some grid extension. These are all in Kaduna State, by the way. We've given some farmers solar-powered irrigation pumps. We've done some mini-grids and some grid extension projects. Next slide. Your Excellency, under the technical standards, one thing we also do is we are the custodians of the technical standards. So when you see projects that are implemented under the capital or under the REF or under the NEP, you would see it's the same standard. It's due to the fact that we ensure all projects are done in the same standard. And we just updated our standards. We launched this about 2 weeks ago. And these are just the different criteria of standards we have. You can see we have some interconnection standards, anti-islanding, which talks about just control and detection of faults for interconnection. Also some voltage and frequency syncing to ensure, since we're having different input from the grid and from the mini grids, to make sure they have the same voltage, the same frequency. And also for generation systems, we also have standards for PV models, generation of power from PV models, for instance. We used to have a threshold of about 1 megawatts, which we've reviewed. We've increased that. We also have other standards for wind and small hydro and other technologies. Even for storage, Your Excellency, batteries have changed over the years from lead acid to lithium ion and now to even more advanced batteries. We've also updated the standards. Also for EVs and e-mobility, we have standards for charging points. For smart meters, we have commercial meters, smart meters, and boundary meters for interconnection. We have standards for that as well, and for safety and security. Next slide. Your Excellency, I wouldn't go deep into this because I think there's a presenter that is going to talk about opportunities for renewable energy in Kaduna State. But just going over this, there's a lot of potential for solar. The irradiance rate in Kaduna is very high. The peak sun hours are about 6 to 7 hours in a day, which is very good for solar panels and solar mini grids. Also for wind, Kaduna has some areas that have wind speeds as high as 6.4 meter per second. The ideal amount of wind speed for deployment of wind solar is about 7 meter per second, and they have 6.41. So we can collaborate with them and look at potentialities in some parts of Kaduna towards deploying wind energy. Kaduna has some waterways as well. Small hydro can be developed. Next slide. Your Excellency, these are just minerals that Kaduna has a lot of reserves of them. Just looking at some of them, lithium and graphite, these are minerals that are used for the production of batteries, cathodes, and anodes. All other minerals are also very important. We have copper. Most conductors and wires are made from copper. Even transformers, part of our specifications for our transformers is those with copper-to-copper winding, for instance. So Kaduna has reserves of copper. So all these minerals are important minerals that are used to make renewable components. Next slide. The last slide, Your Excellency, no, the one before. This is the last slide, that's what I meant. We can go into joint project development with Kaduna State. For instance, we are developing a 620 kilowatts small hydro with Gombe State at Balanga and Unido. So it's something we can also explore with Kaduna State. We can also share and align our technical standards also with Kaduna State government, and we can also do a lot on capacity building. Hope I was able to stick to 5 minutes. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Engineer Umar. Your Excellency, sir, just to take us a little bit deep into the ongoing implementation of the DARES program under the Nigerian Electrification Program, I'll be inviting Olufemi Akinyelure, the head Nigerian Electrification Program, for his presentation.
Your Excellency, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I will skip the protocols and delve straight into it. So, Your Excellency, you've heard a lot today about the various projects that the REA implements. And I guess what differs from each speaker you've spoken about is just the model in which we used to implement. So under the PMU and the Nigeria Electrification Program over the years, I think we've embodied what we call the policy, from policy to action, in the sense that at the beginning of this journey, we started with the first mini-grid regulations, which essentially birthed the entire program into how we look at our isolated mini-grids and interconnected. Next slide. Today, or next two slides. Today, what we've been able to achieve with that is the first project, which is now complete under the World Bank, which was a $350 million project. We deployed over 180 solar hybrid mini-grids, and we deployed 100 installations, 50 kilowatt installations in 100 hospitals across the nation. Very critical was also the deployment of 7 hybrid or interconnected mini-grids in 7 universities and 2 teaching hospitals, one of which is the NDA, which was commissioned. With the successes that we gathered there, we now have the new program, which we call the DARES, which is essentially a scale-up of that first program. Also, hand in hand, we are running the Africa Development Bank Nigeria Electrification Project, which also implements projects across board, from solar hybrid mini-grids to interconnected mini-grids. One critical project I want to highlight, which I'll speak about later, is the productive use of energy. Because the deployment of energy isn't just about, energy access or turning up a bulb. We want to ensure that it leads to productive activities and it yields economic activities, leads to jobs, and ensuring that people are able to sustain these appliances over time. So just as the MD mentioned earlier, I think the portfolio that we have is over 1.5 billion or so, cutting across all these different parameters. And this is essentially because of the successes that we continue to achieve on the program. So how do we do what we do, which was what I mentioned earlier on? In the next slide, we would see that we go from demand identification, which we do through our geospatial platforms, and developers also carry that out on their own, going into communities, gathering data, and then we take that also to a lot of support that we give to the developers, is ensuring that they are able to access the required financing for the project, which I'll get to later. We also look into how we disburse these subsidies, because they're subsidies and we want to ensure that they are deployed the right way, and we get the right quality of equipment on the ground. So there's independent verification agents that go to verify that these projects have been deployed in the right manner. And then the last part of it is just the issues around the long-term sustainability of this equipment. Next slide, please. So the model I was speaking about, Your Excellency, is what we know as the results-based financing model. Next slide. This is essentially a model that ensures that the private sector not only gets a grant from the REA, but is also able to raise private sector finance to deploy these projects. And what that means is that when you have skin in the game, you want to ensure that that equipment or that installation runs and feeds the people, gives them the services that they require. And this is just explained in the chart that we can see, that is self-explanatory, all the way from the application down to the connections that we see. This is how we run this entire program to ensure that we achieve this sustainability. Next slide. Next slide speaks to how the solar home systems work. And we can go to the next slide because of time. Your Excellency, I spoke about the DARES program and leading on from the achievements in the NEP. we can see that we deployed about 100 megawatts across that program to date. And our targets in the DARES program is probably 5 times that to date. We've probably seen a pipeline of over 1,000 megawatts or so, or 500-600 megawatts across the entire country. We are just trying to ensure that private sector are able to access that finance. In running these programs, Your Excellency, there are a lot of lessons that we've learned that we feel that we need to imbibe and take on going forward. And a few of those lessons include the fact that we want to inject a lot of productive use elements, next slide, into all the projects that we are engaging in, because this is core to sustainability. We also want to ensure that we're able to raise cheap local currency finance. Your Excellency, you are aware of how expensive it's been to raise local currency finance. And there's always a mismatch if you are raising funds in foreign currency. There's always that risk of currency. One key area as well, which the MD has been driving, last week we had the NRIF, is ensuring that we promote localization. And pleased to mention, based off of the support of the REA and all these programs, Nigeria has exported its first set of panels outside Nigeria. And these are the wins that we want to continue to expand to gain sustainability that we want to achieve. Next slide, please. So across these components, Your Excellency, the most critical part of this slide is the state collaboration, and it's tied to why we are here today. Based off of the new Electricity Act that has given the states more powers over the electricity market, we thought it was important to ensure that every state has equal opportunity in terms of capacity. Not all the states have the same amount of capacity. So we created a component here that allows us to collaborate directly with you, Your Excellency, and I'm sure following this meeting, your team would be getting the list of criteria that we have to qualify Kaduna State under this program. Once that qualification is done and you meet those certain criteria, there's some amount of money that is allocated towards installation of power systems, standalone power systems in public utilities within the state. And we can get into this later as well. Next slide, please. So in terms of the concept of the RESCO, which are the Renewable Energy Service Companies, Your Excellency, I won't bore you so much, but the entire concept of this is just the area of sustainability. We know the critical difference between an EPC company and an energy service company. An EPC company just wants to deploy a project and leave, while an energy service company is a mini utility, essentially, that vends and ensures that that entire value chain runs over time. And this is what we are trying to promote. Next slide, please. Critically, what are the barriers to, collaboration with the subnationals and areas that we want to emphasize? Your Excellency, regulatory barriers and licenses. You would agree with me that based off of this new Electricity Act, if we suddenly have 36 mini-grid regulations, noting that I said at the beginning that this mini-grid regulations is what has birthed where we are and all the progress we've made. Imagine if the 36 states had 36 different regulations all of a sudden, then we lose all that momentum. So it's important that we collaborate and we align and we synergize so that this doesn't become an issue for us. The other area is access to land, Your Excellency. The subnationals are the closest to the people on the ground. We have a number of projects. Particularly, I'll mention the interconnected mini-grids. These interconnected mini-grids is essentially the bridge that we see between the off-grid and the grid, focusing on reliability at the feeder level. And we have a lot of times issues around access to land, which we want to bring to the fore, Your Excellency, because we have a particular project in Kaduna State, which I'll mention the details, three sites that I'll mention later on that will be coming back to you for that land allocation to ensure the success of that project. Next slide. Well, before I go, previous slide, I think based off of the relationship with the communities as well, advocacy and sensitization is also very key. When communities often have these deployments from governments, we know the culture is you think it's free. But I always want to mention every time that it's important that no matter how small, these communities understand that they need to pay something to ensure that this is sustainable. Anything that comes for free like that is not sustainable. So it's important that I emphasize that point. Next slide, please. The next few slides, Your Excellency, just shows a few of the projects that have been deployed from our isolated mini-grids in Makami, Matari, Chikaji, Gwari, Hausa, and also installation in your health facilities in Gwantu General Hospital. This facility is powering that hospital. I think there's an issue there. I think it's powering the entire hospital, and that is working currently. The installation at NDA is also technically and commercially commissioned and has been working for about 6 months, I'll say now. The next few slides shows pictures of this installation. And the critical thing to mention about the energizing education is that it's not just the deployment of the systems. We also develop a world-class training center to ensure that the universities and those who will be using the facility are able to improve expertise and build on capacities to sustain these projects. We also have a distribution network with streetlights, also ensuring that we train 20 STEM students in the university from soil testing all the way to the commissioning of the project. So 20 students had been trained in NDA, and even post-commissioning, we are picking another 100 students to train them to ensure that we have the right capacity to build on sustainability. So as I close, Your Excellency, I would like to emphasize those communities that I spoke about is in Trapco, Ambosa, and Makafi, and a combined capacity of about 9.5 megawatts peak for reliability in those communities. And to conclude, Your Excellency, just based off of your principles, is to say, judging from one of your quotes, to say that security is not only about arms, it's about livelihoods. When people have jobs and light, they have hope, right? So I'm close to say that energy access is quietly one of your best tools for peace. Lighting villages, powering small farms, creating productive activity at night reduces vulnerability and strengthens community stability. And I think this is one of the most powerful tools that we can use to sustain the peace that you have achieved in your state, Your Excellency. With these few points of mine, Your Excellency, I think my approval of indigenship should be approved. God bless you.
Thank you for your presentation, Olufemi Akinyelure. Your Excellency, sir, it's very clear that the impact footprint of the agency cuts across all sectors: healthcare, agriculture, residents of last mile communities, microeconomics. But one thing is very critical to this conversation, which is sustainability of this infrastructure, especially in terms of the maintenance culture of residents of last mile communities. To expand this conversation on sustainability, I'll be calling on Ayoade Boyega, the Executive Director, Corporate Services, REA, for his 5 minutes, please.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, the MD, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to stand on already established protocol. As I was coming here just now, the guy with the blue hat told me that I only have 5 minutes to spend. But all the while I've been the timekeeper for all the EDs, including the MD, and they've all spent at the minimum 15 minutes. So I'm just wondering where the equality is in what we're doing here today. So I'll take my time. It will take a lot of people to drag me off this podium. So we will start. On a more serious note, Your Excellency, Thank you so much for all the good work that you have been doing in Kaduna State. They speak for themselves. And one of the indicator also is how many of the developers we have here today to come and welcome you and to come and see what other opportunities you're going to give them if they come into your state. So it is a very appreciated effort that you have been given in your state. Your Excellency, the reason why we're here today is not just to talk about energy access, right? It's to talk about how we invest funds into our communities and ensure that that fund that we invest can last and can stand the test of time. And that is where the sustainability comes into this. The Executive Director, Executive Director Technical Services, including the MD, and also the Executive Director Rural Electrification Fund, and Femi Akinyelure, who spoke just before me, spoke a lot about sustainability in their own different ways. Femi spoke about the financial aspect of sustainability. EDTS talked about the technical aspect of sustainability. But there's another aspect of sustainability that's actually not been touched on. I know the MD touched on it really briefly earlier, where he said we have a framework at REA that we have designed to ensure that any of our infrastructure that we implemented in any of the communities is able to stand the test of time. That is the aspect that I'm here to actually speak about. Next slide, please. So we have, when you talk about sustainability, you talk about technical sustainability, financial sustainability, which Femi spoke to earlier on. You have the social sustainability and environmental sustainability. For me, the REUX, which is the Renewable Energy Users Cooperative Society, kind of tackles sustainability end to end. It takes care of the technical sustainability, ensuring that the infrastructure produced is fit for purpose. Also takes care of the financial sustainability. I'll show you how in a minute. Social and environmental sustainability. Move on to the next slide, please. Your Excellency, sir. So when you talk about REUX, I'm trying to give a very basic example here, Your Excellency. When a community comes together, in layman terms, to monitor and protect or feel like a part of a particular project, they tend to protect it more. And that is what REUX does as a framework for any renewable energy, any community where renewable energy infrastructure has been implemented. Let's take, for instance, Your Excellency, we provide your community with a 1 megawatt mini grid. And there is no one in that community that feels a part of that particular implementation. What then happens is that people don't care about the infrastructure. One of the two main causes of, one of the two main issues that we have with energy in this country is either energy is stolen by people who bypass meters, or infrastructure is vandalized on its own. So because we have set up REUX, what REUX does is that it gives back that responsibility to the community. So the community feels a part of the infrastructure that's been delivered to them. So you have people that within the community will do the collection of tariffs. There are people within the community that will protect the infrastructure. You have people from within the community that will provide training for those who will be able to maintain this infrastructure. So one of the issues that we have with renewable energy is that within the space of 10 to 15 years, the battery tends to start to falter, stop working. And then the issue within the community is, how do we replace these batteries? How do we ensure that these batteries continue to work? REUX have provided a framework for that to ensure that when you set up a renewable energy users cooperative society, this society collects, and then when it's time for O&M, they put that money back into replacing any of the missing parts in the infrastructure. The reason why this is very, very important to Kaduna State is because in Kaduna State you have deployed a lot of renewable energy infrastructure. And going forward with all the developers here, you'll be developing more and implementing more across all your communities. So it is time to start thinking of how do we ensure sustainability for all of this infrastructure that we are going to deliver. So that in the next 10, 15 years, we don't come back and be in the same room again and continue to talk about energizing communities that have already been energized previously. What we're doing here today, even though novel, because it's renewable energy, But providing infrastructure in Nigeria as a country is not something novel. As we build in Nigeria in the past, we already, as we grow in the country in the past, we don't just build sustainability into what we do. And that is why a lot of people will come up today and say, Nigeria, we do not have a culture of, you're not listening, a culture of maintenance. So for us, building that culture of maintenance is key. That is why REA ensures that for every project that we deliver, we look at it from end to end. Financial sustainability, we brought in the private sector to ensure that we have funding for this project, and they are part of that. They are part of the implementation. For technical sustainability, we did standardization, as ED Technical Services has spoken about, ensuring that all the equipments used have the best standards in the world. When it comes to sustainability on this part, also ensuring reduction in vandalization and energy theft and O&M, we then put reuse into it. So that is what reuse does as a framework, and it will be nice to implement this. In fact, REA is looking to implement reuse across the entire state, and we are working on that now. Next slide. Next slide. The second aspect of sustainability, Your Excellency, is the one that is very important. The MD spoke about it earlier on, where he talked about, where we spoke about capacity development. It is very key. In the last few years, IRENA, International Renewable Energy Agency, did a study where they found out that in the last few years, about 16.7 million jobs have been created in the renewable energy space. And China took about 7.4 million jobs. Africa took about 324,000 jobs, which Nigeria only took about 76,000 of those jobs. The issue here is that we are investing so much into renewable energy. This is an opportunity for us to leverage on our investment to create more job opportunities. As MD mentioned something earlier on, he gave an example of if you create, or if you're doing a solar home system in Lagos, for instance, and then you're supplying it to Kaduna, if those solar home system happens to have a fault, because there are no people in Kaduna who has a requisite skill set to be able to repair, you would have to move your staff from Lagos to come to Kaduna to come and repair those solar home systems. I don't think it should continue to be this way. I think what we should do is to continue to develop or build capacity across the entire sector. We have a country where youth unemployment is astronomical. In order to reduce this youth unemployment, we should start to key into something like this. And RE has already started doing something about that. We have Next Gen Resco, where we're already training about 130 people in conjunction with NAP team and some other private sector. Femi came up here earlier on and spoke about how we're building STEM, where we're training 20 STEM students for every university where we build this infrastructure. Plus, we're training additional 100 after commissioning of this project in all of the 15 universities that we are building this infrastructure to train about 1,500 students in total. It is time for the state also to start looking at building capacity within their state. Even when these rescues come to your state, they will need the workforce to be able to work on their project. Ayo Ademilua, the RIAN president, spoke at the NRIF last week, and he mentioned that we have about a skill gap for DES of about 50,000 required workers to work on the DES project and be able to deliver within the time frame that we're planning to deliver. We don't have that 50,000. Lagos State took the initiative, started training people in Lagos. I believe the Kaduna State can also take this initiative and start to build capacity, try to start to develop skill. You have installers, you have engineers who needs to be trained to be able to take up all these opportunities for job. I think as we try to energize and electrify Nigeria, we must also leverage that opportunity to create jobs for our youths and Nigeria as a whole in order to sustain this energy transition. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that very enlightening presentation. EDCS. Your Excellency, sir, the executive team at the REA have referenced the NREF a few times. Just to let you know that that's the Nigeria Renewable Energy Innovation Forum we had last week, a 2-day forum, which was flagged off by His Excellency the Vice President. Well, the biggest forum of the year, so to say, in the sector. And we'll be using this opportunity to invite you to the 2026 edition of this forum. In January 2026, you'll be receiving a letter, Your Excellency, and we hope that we'll be able to partner to hold the 2026 edition in August 2026. Yes, we'll sign an MOA partnership letter with Kaduna State, REA Kaduna State, and that will equally be the biggest renewable energy forum for the year 2026. Your Excellency, sir, lastly, we have a communique for this particular edition, and we'll be sending it to your team just to keep you abreast of the resolutions that we've had from this edition. I'll now be inviting Mohammed Jibril. Mohammed, hope you heard that, 3 minutes, to give us a deep dive of his data sets for Kaduna State. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, MD, distinguished guests. To save my 3 minutes, I would like to adopt the already established protocols of the day. I mean, it's usually difficult to come after the MD and the EDs and the head of NEP. In some light, they've done more than half of what I'm supposed to do here, so I would just try and dive into the demonstration. MD spoke about the efforts REA has put in place and the investments that we've put on data. We believe it's very key for us in terms of planning our intervention, in terms of knowing where interventions should go to. If you remember the map he showed where mini-grids are meant to go, where SHS are meant to go, all of these are efforts that we've put in understanding what the landscape looks like and where different technologies should go to different places. This is a presentation on how one of those tools called VIDA showcases the national outlook. If you can see the map of Nigeria with the dots, and then narrowing into each and every community. And today we have that specific focus on Kaduna. I'll also make an attempt to locate where the house of the Honorable Commissioner is. MD has already spoken, and I feel like I will make an attempt. And maybe we'll even do one better and go into Zaria City and see if there's a particular large building where His Excellency was probably born. It's a challenge that MD has put in place, and we'll try and do what we can. Your Excellency, if you look at the map here, you would see the map of Nigeria. It may be blurry from where you are, but these are pink and blue and dots that are showing where each and every community is. On the left, you would see some data sets starting from Lagos, showing about 2.6 million buildings, and down to the community with the lowest number of buildings. We have prioritized number of buildings because I think it's the most important data set amongst everything that the MD has spoken about. It's important to us because it shows the size of a community. Because you could imagine Lagos would probably have the most densely populated households in Nigeria. To the people behind us, the rescuers, that translates to the money that they will get from us, because the head of the NEP spoke about connections and how we pay based on performance, and that performance means how many connections have you enabled. And that connection is usually determined by the number of buildings, because we assume that every building will probably have one connection, and that's why it's very important for the rescuers. And each time we come here to talk, the main interest, their keen interest is, Mohammed, can you give me information about that community with 2,000 households, because it's 2,000 times the grant that we give them per connection. We would not waste time and go into Kaduna. But before we go in, you would see 154,000 at the top right, which shows the number of communities we are able to map. This includes communities like Kaduna and Zaria and Lagos, which may not be seen as off-grid because they are really connected and they have access. But we also have communities that are not connected, and we'll try and see how we can locate them. If you go on the filter that I'm trying to sort here, we can choose Kaduna State as one of the states in Nigeria. We would see the long list of all the states. And if we apply the filter, it will reduce from 154,000 to 9,860. I think this is part of the top 5 states in Nigeria that has the largest number of communities, whether off-grid or on the grid. But we may not be interested in all of the communities here. So we can come down and say, where are the communities that are not having any distribution lines, which means there is no access in those communities. If we sort the filter, this 9,860 will reduce to about 4,692, which might either be off-grid communities or communities that are deserving of more reliable electricity. So communities that are ripe for interconnected mini-grids. And then we can say communities that in the night, when our satellite is looking at that community, it's dark. We also assume those communities are either without power or have inconsistent supply, because when your satellite is looking down and zooming down, it's looking for places that are illuminated. So communities like that would also mean no connection or no light. I'll just sort through and look at one of the communities. So if you look at Damau, for example, it would zoom into that community. It's a bit slow on this end, but yes, it would zoom into that community. And this is one of those screenshots that you've seen in the MD's presentation, just showcasing the data. But we'll be able to do more. As you zoom in, this purple and blue and green are all rooftops directly from the satellite, meaning we can deduce number of connections from them. But what's even more important is making sure that we separate a larger household from a smaller household to an average size household, because their consumption is usually different. We try to go granular, and I'm sorry if this is a bit too technical, but we try to make sure that the calculation that we do, the energy that is required for each and every community is calculated precisely. So a small household would probably just need 0.4 kilowatts. A larger household will probably need about 0.7. The big household probably need 1 kilowatt hour per day. And we put all of that and we come down to that left side, and it would tell you that this community would have a potential PV production of 1.7 megawatt hour. And then we can also see that where the connections would go to and what's the size and everything. So this is how granular it is. We also see that there is an educational institution here. This is supposed to be a school. This dot here is supposed to mean a school. We have that of hospitals. We have that of other institutions that would serve as anchor loads. Your Excellency, MD spoke about other important information. For example, this community here, for every successful RESCO, there is a particular amount that we give per connection. This community, because it's far away from the national grid, would fetch about $500 per connection. We have a range depending on where it is located and how difficult it is for the developers to go there. So the more difficult it is for us to push you to really remote areas where business may not seem attractive to you, the more subsidy we give to make you go there, because that is attractive to you. If you come closer to urban cities in places close to Zaria or Soba, you would see that the subsidy reduces because you're not making too much effort into going into deep areas, and that's what we call last mile communities. Places where they may not really know about electricity, and you have to even convince them that they actually did it. So all of that effort is rewarded by the subsidy that we allocate to them. What I would also show is, MD spoke about security concerns. If you look at armed conflicts from 2020 to 2022, and we're looking to update this map 2022 falls before this administration, so I would not credit this conflict to what His Excellency has done to bring peace. But you see fatalities, battles, riots, violence across the location in the past, maybe within the period under review. We'll see dominant crop for agriculture where productivity that has been spoken about would come from. We would see where some accessibility data would also come from. Is there any main road access? Is there any Dogwa is the nearest regional hub from that community? So we'll try and go granular. But what I had committed to doing is looking at, for example, one more community before I go. If you look at this is Soba community, and I'll try and see if that house would be visible anywhere. Because MD had committed to this, and I'll just make an attempt. I'll probably take just a minute or two to show this. Okay, I think this is Soba. I've spoken to some key stakeholders in the commissioner's life, and they told me to look for a big building, but within small buildings. He's a politician who wants to stay close to people in small houses. So you would see a green building here. You would see a green L-shaped building here. It's taking a while to zoom. This is a big house that would probably be owned by somebody really important. But you see pink houses. You see pink houses around it, meaning he wants to live with his people close by, serve them breakfast, eat lunch with them, and when the time for voting comes, they would really remember him. So, Your Excellency, thank you very much. I would save Zaria City for when I come to Kaduna, and I'll showcase that to His Excellency personally. Thank you for having me, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you, Muhammad Jabril. Your Excellency, sir, will be inviting Engineer Aminu Idris, the MD, Kaduna State Power Company. MD, I heard you have a video. Okay.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Your Excellency, sir, the people's-oriented governor, the unifier governor, the action governor, my governor, the governor of Kaduna State, Senator Malam Obasani, CON, all commissioners of Kaduna State here present, the MD, Ari and his team, I would like to stand on the existing protocol. Before I go into my presentation, I would like to have a 5-minute teaser documentary by Kaduna State government. So,
State, founded in 1912, is the heartbeat of northern Nigeria, a land where history, commerce, culture, and learning converge. Known as the Center of Learning, it is home to Ahmadu Bello University, the Nigerian Defense Academy, and other world-class institutions. Beyond education and industry, Kaduna is also a place of hospitality, where diverse cultures, cuisines, and festivals showcase a vibrant lifestyle that blends tradition with modernity. Strategically located and connected by air, road, and rail, Kaduna is the gateway to a 100 million consumer market and one of Nigeria's most industrialized states. Its real strength, however, lies in its opportunities, from fertile farmlands and rich minerals to expanding infrastructure and thriving urban communities. Let's explore the sectors shaping Kaduna's transformation into a hub of growth and opportunity. Agriculture and agro-industrial drive. Agriculture is Kaduna's economic backbone, employing millions and feeding Nigeria. With 4.6 million hectares of arable land, the state leads in maize, ginger, tomatoes, and soya beans. Irrigation systems and mechanization are driving year-round production, while clusters in dairy, poultry, and fish farming are boosting agribusiness. In 2025, Kaduna launched Nigeria's first special agro-industrial processing zone at Dakitakwas, turning raw harvest into export-ready products and creating new jobs. Mining and solid minerals. Beneath Kaduna's fertile land lies an abundance of minerals: gold, lithium, iron ore, gemstones, and tin. In 2025, Nigeria's first lithium processing plant opened in Kangimi, marking a milestone in the country's move toward battery materials production. The state has secured over 50 mining licenses and is supporting investors through geological mapping, community engagement, and incentives. Infrastructure and connectivity. Infrastructure is at the heart of Kaduna's modernization. 78 road projects totaling 775 kilometers are underway, easing travel between rural farms, industrial hubs, and urban centers. The landmark Kaduna Bridge now links Kabala Costain to Aliyu Makama Road, while the Abuja Kaduna-Kano Railway, now under construction, is set to strengthen regional trade. Energy infrastructure is expanding with the AKK gas pipeline, Nigeria's first LNG and LCNG plants in Kakao, and the 215 megawatts Kudende power plant nearing completion. Together, these projects position Kaduna as a logistics and energy hub for West Africa. Education. Kaduna's legacy as Nigeria's center of learning is unmatched. Home to Ahmadu Bello University, the Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna Polytechnic, Air Force Institute of Technology, and dozens of research institutes, the state draws students from across Africa. Investments in new digital learning centers, STEM hubs, and vocational schools are equipping the next generation with skills for a technology-driven economy. Urban development and housing. Urban renewal is changing Kaduna's skyline. New resettlement areas are providing modern homes, schools, and clinics for families. In different parts of the state, economic zones are being developed to host agro-processing, light manufacturing, and tech industries, creating jobs and attracting investors. Across Kaduna, new housing estates and shopping malls are meeting the needs of a growing population. In Anguwan Dosa, a major new extension is taking shape, supported by the ongoing construction of a bridge that will ease connectivity and open up more opportunities for residents, security, and stability. As host to the Nigerian Defense Academy, the Armed Forces Command and Staff College in Jaji, and several police training schools, the state is a center of national defense. At the community level, strengthened policing has reopened farmlands once abandoned, restoring livelihoods and building investor confidence. Governance and investment climate. Under Governor Ubasani, Kaduna has cut bureaucratic delays, embraced transparency, and streamlined public services. Ranked number 1 in ease of doing business in Nigeria, the state offers one-stop investor support through the Kaduna Investment Promotion Agency and is a proud member of the World Association of Investment Promotion Agencies. Invest in Kaduna, your gateway to northern Nigeria and beyond. Kaduna State, founded in 1912, is the heart.
Thank you very much. I think with this, His Excellency will end up giving a lot of citizenship to the rest schools. So I will go to just 3-minute presentation to show the opportunities in Kaduna. Next slide, please. The overview of Kaduna, the background on power, the mandates, strategic plans for expanding renewable energy across the state, partnership opportunities, and policy support. The overview has already been discussed. It's the northern region that shares borders with Katsina, Kano, Plateau, Nasarawa, Niger, Zamfara. And also, we have 23 number local governments which are divided into 3 geopolitical zones. The Kaduna State's solar intensity is the northwest, where Kaduna is located, exhibits high solar potential. Let's go to the next slide. The background of power in Kaduna, you can see that averagely, Kaduna State consumes about 100 megawatts of grid supply. At present, there are various captive and embedded generation points across the state from different sources, such as solar, CNG, diesel, etc., which are estimated to be 15.6 megawatts across the state. The peak electricity demand of the state as of 2025 is estimated to be about 1,200 megawatts, which shows us that we have deficit of about 1,084 megawatts. That is why we need the RESCOs to come to Kaduna and fill in this gap. Next slide, please. You will agree with me that Kaduna is unique in its approach, and based on this, the Kaduna State government needs to establish a special purpose vehicle on power development. In effort to bridge this gap, the power sector, Kaduna State's Power Supply Company, was established to ensure the critical infrastructure reliability. CAPSCO is tasked with ensuring stable and reliable power to key public assets. It's also to drive investment and support, to support off-grid and renewable development, and also we try to do the energy management to ensure that the bills are transparent and reducing inherent debt burden. Next slide, please. This is our mission, vision, and core values at Kaduna State Power Supply Company. Next. Next. Short-term and long-term project pipelines. We have the 84 megawatts that is actually owned by the state government, and 215 megawatt gas plant also that is owned by federal government, which is 85% completed. We have the hydroelectric exploitation, which is 30 megawatts. Altogether, you can see we still have, it cannot serve up to 50% of our demand. Next slide. Community engagement and social impacts, collaboration with stakeholders and funding agencies. You can see that for sustainable community engagement, the active involvement of local communities is essential for the long-term success and sustainability of projects. Awareness campaign is also very important, training and inclusion, key partnership, funding acquisition, technical and policy support. Next slide. Next slide. Partnerships, opportunities and policy supports. The Kaduna State Power Supply Company aims to draw private companies to invest in renewable energy projects for sustainable development, PPP. We leverage collaboration between PPP to speed up energy access and infrastructure improvement. Policy advocacy and renewable energy growth, regulatory frameworks, advocating for supportive regulation is also vital to enable renewable energy growth. Streamlined permitting, federal and state coordination are also part of what we do. Next slide. So on this, these are the technical opportunities, Kaduna Renewable Energy Assets. Kaduna State offers a rich and diverse portfolio of renewable energy resources, making it a prime hub for decentralized power generation. As you can see, the resources, solar PV, we have an annual installation of average of 5.52 to 7 kilowatt hour meter square per day. It's opportunity scale high, potential for utility scale PV plants, and decentralized mini grid across all our 33 local governments. Small hydros. We have identified potentials at Kangimi reservoirs, ABU Dam, Kubani Dam, Shika Dam, River Galma. All these are moderately high development for multiple small hydro sites for localized industrial or municipal power. Wind, as the other ED has also discussed, you can see the
potential for hydro system solar wind in specific high velocity corridors. For critical minerals, we have presence of nickel, cobalt, and graphite, which also strategy to correlate the renewable energy generation with local manufacturing of storage components, creating a full cycle of energy ecosystem. Next slide, please. Other opportunities and investment anchors. The Kaduna State is also committed to creating a enable environment for private capital. We prioritize investment in some key areas, industrial and economic anchors, such as the Kaduna Green Economic Zone. We have the Kaduna State government has built a 2x60 MVA transmission substation that is a hub to integrate renewable energy system into the industrial zone in Kaduna. We also have opportunity in IPP's large captive solution, grid connecting or hydro mini grids. Specialized industry powering state projects like Damau household milk, and major water treatment like Malali and Zaria water treatments. For also rural and social electrification, mini grids, through Kaduna State Power Supply, we have also done a lot of mini grid projects that are powering the rural communities. Educational sector, we are also working towards achieving 80 to 100 kilowatt of solar energy to power our computer labs in 23 local government of Kaduna State. Next slide. What are the incentives and partnership structure? Why should you come to Kaduna? You can see that we have structure in place. We have the Kaduna Investment Promotion Agency that supports to provide and streamline approvals, land acquisition, supports and guarantees security for the investors. Number two, counterparty risk management. We have the Kaduna State Power Supply Company that acts as a reliable intermediary and off-taker for state facilities, providing comfort to investors. Number three, successful models. We have already successfully attracted major solar developers, demonstrating investors' confidence in the state. I think the next is just call to action. Fast-tracking sustainable electrification. Kaduna State can only achieve its electrification goals through partnership. We invite the REA, our partners, to focus on these immediate needs. Project co-development, industrial power development, hydro feasibility. Next slide. To conclude, commitment to sustainability. Kaduna State Power Supply Company focuses on sustainable and innovative renewable energy to transform the energy landscape. The state government is keenly observing the unfolding events and activities surrounding the EA 2023 as a move to make amendment to EA 23 and National Assembly towards own act for the Kaduna State electricity market. Collaboration and planning. Strategic collaboration such as REA, other governments and multilateral agencies. Investment for power access. Investment in infrastructure and technology will drive reliable power to availability for all residents. The governor and the government is willing to ensure these investments are done in sustainable and realistic manner. Kaduna is ready, the resources are available, the commitment is absolute. We are ready. Thank you very much and God bless.
Thank you for that presentation, MD. Ladies and gentlemen, can we keep the room a bit quiet, please? Because we're about to have the most important speech of the day, a commitment speech by His Excellency Senator Uba Sani. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, Senator Obasani.
Let's be seated. The Managing Director and Chief Executive of Rural Electrification Agency, my brother, Mr. Abba Aliyu and his management team here present, the Chairman of the Board of NEMASA, Malan Yusuf Hamisu Abubakar, the Executive Director, Nigerian Integrated Water Resource Management, who is also with us here, Malan Aminu Zaria, the Secretary to Kaduna State Government, Dr. Abdulkadir Maazu Mayeri, and other senior government officials from Kaduna State that are here present, local and international investors here present, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is with immense pleasure that I welcome you all to this crucial state-by-state renewable energy roundtable with a team from policy to impact. Sustaining the new Kaduna State electricity market for access, investment, and industrial growth. Let me start by extending my profound appreciation to the Rural Electrification Agency for conceiving and executing this initiative, which is a powerful engine for our shared goal of comprehensive, sustainable electrification. For too long, the challenge of reliable power has constrained the enormous potential of our state. We know that energy is not just a utility. It is a fundamental infrastructure for development. It powers our schools, drives our industries, and improves the quality of life for every family. That is why the government of Kaduna State has made energy transition a core pillar of our economic and social agenda. We are committed to moving beyond addressing legacy power challenges and embracing modern, decentralized, and sustainable solutions. This roundtable is not a mere opportunity for discussion. It is the platform where strategy meets capital. It is where our local development priorities are aligned with their technical expertise and financial capacity. Kaduna State is uniquely positioned to lead Nigeria's renewable energy transition. Kaduna is uniquely positioned to be a leader in renewable energy, given our abundant natural resources. We have significant potentials for solar energy with high solar irradiation levels are ideal for large-scale solar power projects. Additionally, our expansive agricultural sector provides ample opportunities for biomass energy production, and our water bodies present untapped hydroelectric potentials. These renewable energy resources are key to our strategy for sustainable development and economic growth. Our commitment to you, our prospective partners, is reflected in three clear pillars. Number one, policy certainty. We are creating a regulatory environment that is transparent, predictable, and supportive of private investment in the renewable energy space. We are dedicated to removing bottlenecks and reducing the cost of doing business in our state. Number two, off-grid expansion. We see mini-grids and standalone power system as the fastest way to electrifying our hard-to-reach communities. We are ready to provide the necessary support from land allocation to community engagement. Number 3, industrial power solutions. Our major industrial clusters and agricultural processing zones required stable, cost-competitive power. There is a massive opportunity here for utility-scale solar projects and independent power producers, IPPs, to supply power directly to businesses, driving jobs creation and economic growth. A call to partnership. To the investors and development partners gathered here today, Kaduna State is open for business. We invite you to look closely at our investment climate, engage directly with the Kaduna Power Supply Company, KAPSCO, and our planning team, and identify projects where your expertise can generate both significant returns and immense societal impact. We believe in joining partnership where risks are shared and successes are mutual. We are not just seeking contractors, we are seeking long-term partners who share our vision for a sustainable power future. Let this roundtable mark the moment when we move from proposal to tangible project execution. We are ready to work with you to make Kaduna State a model for renewable energy and development in Nigeria. Before I end my remarks, I just want to seize the opportunity again because I've just finished reading my speech, but I want to say one or two things because I have listened carefully to the comments and presentation by some of the most brilliant young people I've seen recently. But first I would like to commend the Managing Director and Chief Executive of REA, my brother Abba Aliyu. You have done extremely well within a very short time. You have repositioned the entire agency, and I can stand here without any fear of contradiction that this is the most functional agency in the whole of Nigeria. When one of the directors came here, I think it's Engineer Doris. Engineer Doris, let me confirm what you said. I had privilege to discuss with President Bola Tinubu on many occasions about REA, and he's proud of what they are doing. I have listened to, and I also want to commend your team, because when I was sitting there, I was asking my brother Abba, why do you get this very competent executive directors? Because the presentation by Engineer Doris Ubo, by Engineer Umar A. Umar, as well as Engineer Olufemi Akinye Lure, and even the presentation also of Ayode Boyega were excellent. Not to mention the presentation of Mohammed Jibril, who wanted to zoom down to the house of our commissioner. And of course, I can say here that you have zoomed up to your house because I've got the house. And of course, I can say that we're really proud of what they are doing. But of course, I'm really impressed when I look at the areas you are focusing on. You are talking about education, agriculture, which is very important, healthcare. You also talk about transportation and ensuring that you get down to the communities. We talk about security. You could not have done what they are doing without addressing the problem of insecurity. When we came as a government, we look at the whole situation. We believe we wouldn't be standing here talking about investment in Kaduna, we do not address the issue of insecurity. So what is the issue of insecurity in Nigeria? That is why everyone is looking at Kaduna as a role model. Why? Because when we came in as a government, we have to look at the symptoms and drivers of insecurity. And I can stand here to tell you, because someone mentioned, was it Doris or Olufemi, and talk about my time in the Senate. We look at it. We could not address the issue of insecurity just using kinetic approach. Because when we look at the symptoms and drivers, most of the problem are economic crises. That was the issue. And that's the reason why we kept saying, and I'll continue to say it here, good governance is about non-kinetic approach, nothing more than that. It's about good governance. If we take development to every part of our communities, particularly rural communities, where when you go today, standing here, I can tell you, the only statistics that is missing here is the number of people that are completely financially excluded. If you go to that statistics, you will be shocked. Many communities in Nigeria are completely, most of the people there, about 70 to 60% are financially excluded. That's the reason why we're facing the issue of insecurity because of poverty, unemployment, and hopelessness generally. What they are doing is not only taking electrification to rural areas, it's addressing insecurity, addressing poverty, addressing unemployment, and addressing many others. At this juncture, I want to thank you, but you should be rest assured that I'm your number one supporter and we are going to partner together. We are proud of you. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, please. Your Excellency, sir, just so we don't bring you up twice to the stage, we'll be signing the MOU between the REA and the Kaduna State government. We'd like to invite the MD of REA and the executive team of the REA. Honorable Commissioner, sir, can you join us on the stage? SSG? Okay. And for the media, this is the opportunity you have for your pictures. Thank you.
They will come on. I'm sorry. We don't want to stay behind. Sorry, we don't want to stay behind.